Hi everyone, it's Kat here. How are you all today? It's really warm here in Perth. It's over 40 degrees, I think, which is, I had a look on Google and that's 104 degrees Fahrenheit. So it's quite a warm day. So I thought stay inside and have the aircon on. The pets are asleep. So the house is empty, everyone's either gone to work or they're not here for the day. So I thought I would take the opportunity to put together this little Kaisercraft 12 drawer storage box. So welcome to my channel, and this is a crafting channel that's all about paper craft, it's about junk journals, it's about journals in general, little DIY projects, and really pretty much anything related to crafting, paper craft and journals. So if you're a paper crafter who loves creating, then click subscribe and click the bell and you'll be notified every time there's a new video, and they will all relate to you. Okay, so we've got our pack here, so I thought I would go through the contents of that. I've taken the wrapper off, so I know all the bits are here. So you've obviously got your picture here. There's no instructions on the back, hence why videos like this are helpful. You've got all your little drawers inside, so you get 4 packets of those, and there are 3. So they're pre-cut and they're pre-scored, which makes that easy for assembling. So you've got 4 of those. Now these are the 3 inside drawers. So these will be the sides and these will be the base and the cover, the top. And then this is the back. So what I'm going to do with these is I'm going to cover them with paper, and I'm going to gesso the edges, which then eventually I will also paint some of the edges. So that's what's in the kit. And then I've got my hardware, and I decided to go with these Kaisercraft treasures. They're the metal label pull, so I've got 12 of these, and they've got the little brads inside as well. So what I'll do is I will put together all the materials that you would need if you wanted to do a similar project, and you can go and start gathering your supplies. So I will see you soon. Okay, so I've put a little bit of a list together here, and I will do a close-up so you can freeze that and just make a list. Now I've just been doing a little bit of research, and it looks like these Kaisercraft kits are being discontinued. There are still some kits around. I suggest that you search on eBay, maybe search for your online scrapbooking stores. Now if you're in Australia, there is For the Love of Scrapbooking. I will link these stores that I mentioned down below. So I think it's called For the Love of Scrapbooking, and it's in Joondalup, and I know that they've got an online store, or they've also got a phone number. They do have some kits left, and she said that they can get them in if they're still available. Also, they do have another lot of kits by Crafty Critter, and also I did try searching on eBay for, so if you type in MDF craft storage drawers, you will get something similar come up, which is fairly reasonably priced. But also the IKEA mop units as well, a lot of people are using those, and the lady I spoke to from the For the Love of Scrapbooking in the Joondalup store in Perth, Western Australia, she said that Crafty Critter makes some drawers that fit inside that IKEA mop unit. So there's some ideas and alternatives. Of course, if you're really clever and you're really patient, you could even probably, had a jigsaw and handy, you could probably try and knock something up together for yourself. But there's some ideas anyway. But yeah, there are still some around. There are still some Kaisercraft kits available on eBay as well, 2019 as I'm filming this. So for the hardware, I have already shown you the Kaiser treasures that I have ordered for myself. These are the brass ones. These are the mini, these are the metal label pulls. So you've got a choice of those. You could also use these Tim Holtz hitch posts. That's another idea. Or you could use these Tim Holtz ring pull fasteners. And some other ideas would be you could use chipboard pieces. If you have a look at the picture here, use like little die cuts or embellishments. I mean, you can use whatever you want. This one here even looks like they've just used little, you could even get little bits of your cardboard and you can put some little sentiments or embellishments on them, and you can use some glossy accents. I mean, there's lots and lots of options. You've got the little holes, like the little half circle hole here, so that's what you would actually pull to take the drawer out, so you don't necessarily need to have something to pull. So the other things that you would need is your 12 by 12 paper. So I'm going to have a look at some of the patterns in here. Again, Kaisercraft. I've got the pen and ink one, and I've also got the Timeless Classics. So I'm going to select some papers there, or you would want coordinated papers, and 12 by 12 would be good. Not essential, but it would be easier to get that in one piece. So I won't, but I will just have to trim a little bit, and I'll have to have a little seam on the edge there. So the other things that you will need is now acrylic paint. I'm just got some old burnt sienna, but I'm going to use some of that. You could also use your distress inks. I've got one of these that have got the sponge in it, but if you had like a walnut stain or a vintage photo or one of the darker colours that you would want to coordinate with your colours that you choose. So paper trimmer or scissors, a cutting board, emery board, so one of these, and some gesso. I've got a little bit of gesso left here, an awl tool, so one of these, so a ruler because you'll be marking to get your holes straight, a pencil, and I've also got an eraser just in case, white gel pen just to mark on my drawer. Now elastic bands, so that when I'm drying and putting the drawers together, I'm just going to hold them together with some elastic band. Bone folder, just so you can burnish down your paper when you glue it down. Some PVA glue. I just went to Bunnings and got this a while ago, so it's just an all-purpose PVA. Some gloss varnish or Mod Podge. Now I've got some glaze paste and I've got some clear gloss varnish. I have used this before and I wasn't that impressed with it, so I have also got some triple thick, which I've not used. I don't know if this will work or not, but I thought I will give it a go. And also, you know, some paintbrushes. So you'll need a craft knife as well, and just make sure that you've got a nice sharp blade in there, and please be careful, don't cut yourself. Some little extras, you know, sandpaper block that I will use along with the emery board, and I'm going to use one of these embossing tool, I think they're called, and I'll show you why I'm going to use that later. So that's just a little list of the materials that you'll use or that you may need. Okay, so for this part I have assembled the pieces together, and what I have also done, I'll zoom in so you can have a look, is I've marked. So you can see there I've put top, upper, and then here you can see I've put shelf 1, shelf 2, shelf 3, and then I've put base upper. So what I've also done is I have worked out where I need to paint. So I've taken the shelves out and I have just marked. If you have a look down here, you'll see that I've written paint, and I've written paint there as well, and I've marked there and I've marked there. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go outside and I'm going to gesso all those edges where I'm going to need to put the paint down, and then I'm going to paint over that with my brown acrylic paint. Okay, so I spent some time yesterday and I painted the edges of the MDF board, so I'll just quickly go through that. So these are the sides, and I used gesso and then I used some brown acrylic paint. I didn't use anything very expensive. All I used was the intro acrylic wreaths. It was about $6 a tube, and I got that from Officeworks, and I've used up pretty much the whole tube for this project. So I applied some gesso, and then I applied a layer of the brown. So I did that on the, now the colour I got is raw umber. So I applied on the sides there and there. So these are both the sides of the board. These are the drawers. So I applied to both sides. I probably didn't need to, but I just did. And so I did those again. I just did the gesso and I did the brown. And then I did the base. So if you remember, I had marked what was the top upper and what is the top base. Okay, so these are the backs. Now, when it is put together, you won't see any of the sides, so I did not worry about covering that with any paint. And it's a 12 by 12 sheet, fits just nicely. So I've picked out my my papers. So what I might do is just apply this one. So I'm just using some PVA glue, which I've just popped in a little container, and I'll just go ahead and just coat the board. I'm just going to place my sheet. I love this. Probably won't see it much, but you will get glimpses of it when you open up the drawer. Okay, so just move that around, and I'll just get my foam folder and just give that a little burnish. So that was easily done, and then I'll just turn it over that the right way up. Okay, so that's my backboard done. It will butt like that, so you won't actually see, so that side gets completely covered by that. So they're done. So I'll put that aside and let that dry. So I just wanted to show you what I did with, now this one is the base, and this one is the top upper. So that's actually the top, and I've not covered that yet, but I've covered the base, and I just wanted to talk about that. So what I did was I got my paper, and I think you'll see, if you have a look, that actually looks like one sheet, but if you look really, really closely, and only because I've pointed it out, I can see a really slight seam there, but that doesn't matter because this is the base, and this is going to have the drawer sitting on it. But what I did was I took my sheet of paper, so I took my sheet of paper and I laid the sheet of paper down and I turned it over, and then I got my pencil and I drew a line, and then I cut it. I cut it to shape. So when I cut it, it was slightly bigger. So then on my paper trimmer, I just took the slightest little bit off the edge, so that it sits, because I've painted, have got a nice, on the inside there, I think you can see there's like a nice little edge. So cut it to size and I glued it down. So then I had this little gap here. So you can see here what I did was I very carefully lined up my lines like that. And then I proceeded to mark it. So you can take your thumbnail and you can make a little crease, or you can your lead pencil and just very carefully mark. Now, because I use my paper trimmer, it's then a matter of taking my paper trimmer and then just using my grids and using this here to make sure everything is angled at the right angle, and then it's just a matter of cutting across like that. So then I had my little piece of paper and I very carefully lined the lines up so they matched, and then I have an edge corner rounder. It's the We Are Memory Keepers one, and I used the small, not the smallest but not the largest, I used the medium sized one, and then I just punched the edges, and then it was just a matter of lining it up. And that's the beauty of using the PVA glue, is that you have got a little bit of time that you can move it and slide it backwards and forwards. And so then I had it covered. So then you've got the holes. Now, I haven't done the edges here, so I can show you what I did. Now, first of all, I took this embossing tool, but I did find that, in the end, what I did was I got my finger and I just pressed and I indented. And I'll do the same here. You just make a little indent. And then I got my crafting knife. I just clean the glue off that from when I was doing it before. And then if you hold it to the light, and you can see, well, of course the other way you could do it is you could just turn it upside down and just cut. So just pierce. Just get that out. So it's good to have a very sharp blade. So I've just cut that out. So I might just do the other one while I'm here, and then we'll get this one done. My emery board, and I just take it in there and I just neaten it by just giving it a bit of a sand. And I just take the side and I just do that motion there. I just kind of like a sawing action. Now, this is the base, so you don't have to be too precious about it all, because this is all going to get covered anyway. But you like to do a neat job so that it looks like a beautiful handcrafted item, especially if you're making it for a gift. Okay, now what I did was I did distress. I was just experimenting, and I did distress You don't have to worry about distressing there because that's all going to get covered anyway. But I did distress the edge. Took my sponge applicator and I just went around and I just gave it a little distress. And the beauty of doing that as well is that if you did have any little bits of white showing on where you've painted, it's going to just sort of cover that all up. So you can just go around and have a look and see if any of this needs just another layer of ink. And then the way that works is that will be like that, and then your sides will, so this one is side outside, that will go like that, and then your other side will be like that. And I've done the back, so the back will now fit like that. And then I've got my top, which goes like that. So I'll line that all up later, but basically you've got your box. I've already done this now. What I can do is I can now cover this, and I can take this sheet here and I can just go ahead line all that up. I will just trim that. I cut my paper to size. Now, I have two choices here. I can either do it like that, because it is the bottom, it doesn't really matter, or what I can do, which is probably a better thing to do, is get some other paper. Perhaps, let's have a look what I've got here. Take one of my other bits. I can perhaps just match it. Yeah, I think that would look nice. Actually, that would probably look good there. So what I do, I'll glue this down first. So just to get that ready, I will take my corner rounder and edge corners. So that's ready to go on. I'm going to stick that on there. And then I get my bone folder and just burnish that down. And just carefully just move it so that it fits the best inside the front there. And then what I'll do is I'll take my paper, and what I might actually do is and then I will make a mark there. Okay, so I will just punch the edge and just apply a bit more glue on there. Now my cutting isn't 100% straight there. If you look really closely you would see a gap, but because it's on the bottom, that on the base, I don't really mind. Okay, I want to talk about the boxes. I'll just get myself all comfortable. I've been spending quite a bit of time putting them together, but I'm almost finished. I'm down to the last box, so I thought I'll pull the camera out and I'll show my process for that. So I'll just take the paper bits away. So I got them as a, which I showed at the beginning of the video, I got them as a blank MDF board. So I have painted them. I've painted the inside and I've also painted the outside. Now I'm going to put some paper there and I'm going to put some paper here, which is the cover. So we'll go ahead and do that. Okay, so first thing I do, I mean there's no particular order, but the only thing is that this one here will end up being on the front there. So I just put that one aside and everything else doesn't really matter. Now the measurements for this, I mean, basically what I did was I just measured the inside. So for this one here, it was 9.5, and then I think it was 9 from memory. Yep, 9. And the way I was able to cut it on my trimmer was I was able to sort of cut a strip, and then I was able to cut it into 3. But I will show you at the end. Now this one here was 6.5, and that one was quite good too. I was able to cut 6.5 centimetre strips, and then I cut 9.5 centimetres, and I did about 4 or 5 sheets of paper at once. So the cutting was not too bad, considering how many panels that I was covering. So on a 12 by 12 sheet, what I'm saying is it did work out pretty well. So I'm just gonna glue that one in the middle and just press it down and just center it. So I just fold those up. Now I will add too that when I painted this, I did also get the brush and I made sure that I painted in here, because otherwise if I didn't, you would see the raw MDF board. So I also found that if I just kind of held that up just to make sure that I had that nicely in the creases. So all I did was I just picked out some random patterns just to mix it up a little bit, and I have covered the inside. I just thought it would be nice, even though it took me a little bit more time. I just thought, you know, that little bit of extra attention to detail, I am going to appreciate that down the track, so I did take the extra effort to do that. So I will just continue to cover these. So just center it like that and then just press it down. And just having the different mix of papers just makes it look really interesting. And even though I will be filling them with you know, beads and brads and stamps and fussy cut images and all that, when you open up the box and you see, it's gonna look nice. And then who knows, in a few years time I might change it up a bit and might put it in the bathroom, or you know, like the ensuite, I might end up putting jewellery in there, you know, hair bits like scrunchies and clips and rollers, and you know, there's lots of things that you could use these little boxes for. I mean, it's down to your imagination. They're very handy to have. I was thinking I might go into IKEA and have a look at those mop ones as well, and see if I can maybe do some more like that. Okay, so I've got all my, now that glue will dry, that's not a problem. I might just oops, get my bone folder. Just burnish that down a little bit. I just press all the corners in just to make sure that as it dries, all the paper bits are good. All right, so I've got all those done. So I've got those inside 3 done, and then I've got the base done. So then what that leaves me is to do this bit that's got the little half circle punched out. Now I don't have a circle punch that size, so the way I got around it is that I hold it like so, and I sort of roughly place it how I would have it. Then I turn it over and I just get my pencil and draw the circle there. Then I get my scissors, and when I cut just on the inside of that pencil line, just slightly on the outside. And the reason I do that is so that when I'm gluing it down, it still sits a little bit inside. I'll explain, I'll show you. So this is going to be the one that I put on the inside. Now this one here is what I'm going to put here. So this is what I'm talking about. Because I do it on the inside, what I'm aiming at is just getting it just to show a little bit of that brown edging there, because otherwise if I don't cut it on the inside, you'll end up getting a little piece of white showing there, which is fine. You can end up getting the emery board and sanding it down, but I just found that it just saved that step. So I'm just going to glue this bit on now. Now actually, before I do that, I do come around and I do distress, because I think it does look nice having the distressed edge on the front of the drawer like that. Okay, so that's that. I just need to put a bit more glue down. Get the glue off my fingers. Okay, so then what I do is I just line that up like so, and that's that. Okay, so the next thing that I want to do is then put on my little label pull. So the way I do that is I just hold my box together like that, and I've just got an elastic band. I just had a packet of them, but they're the larger ones. So the ones that I had were size number 19, so they are the larger one. So I just put the rubber band or the elastic band around like that. Now it's not in the camera, excuse me, but I do have my, I'll show you a pan of it a bit later on, but I slot my drawer in. Sorry for being off camera for this, but I slot my drawer in. Actually, what I might do very carefully, I might just bring my box in just to show you. Okay, this is not glued together, I've just assembled it, but you can see here what I've got going on. So what I do is I put the drawer in. Let me just check that I'm in frame. Yeah, I put the drawer in, and just so I line up my labels, because I think you can see they're not too bad, but some of them are slightly out. Actually, from this angle I might be able to, I don't know, we'll see. They might look better. Probably not, but doesn't matter. So what I do is I just kind of place it, and I just eyeball it, and I just kind of line it up. And I know that if I take my ruler and measure, and it's about 2 centimeters, I know that I've got about the same amount of space on each side. So it's more a matter of lining up this. So put pencil mark there, I'll put pencil mark there. But that's not what I do, what I have been doing. But actually, that will work. but when I was taking them out, I was just holding them in place. I'll just take that one out. So then I undo it, and I just use this just to protect my workspace, and place there we go. Hopefully I'm in camera. I think I'm only just, but you can see. Okay, so yep, I've got my holes lined up. And then I get my awl and I go in the center and I make a hole like so. And then I just get my awl and I just push it through a little bit more just to make that hole, make sure it's gone through, and just to make it a little bit bigger. And then what I do is just secure the label pull onto the front of the drawer, which is a process of really just getting the bread in there. There we go, got it. Okay, so just press that in nice and firm, and then repeat on the other side. So my fingernail. There we go. So that's that. And that's on nice and firm. And then I've got my last little piece. Just get rid of those bits of glue there. Pretty much down to the end of my glue now, which is good. It's been a great way to use up my supplies actually. I've had everything on hand. I mean, obviously I bought the kit and I did buy the label pulls and I bought the tube of paint, but apart from that, everything else I had on hand. So it was a great way of using up what I already had, which is always a good thing. All right, so I've got that like that. So I've put these away, finished with them. Okay, last one, yay. So the next step is, so now I've got that all done, is I get my glue. Now I'm using art glitter glue for this because it's got the fine nib and also it dries and it's not shiny when it dries. It dries clear and it well, it doesn't even dry clear, it just dries and you don't see it, and also it doesn't leave that shine. So I just run my glue along there, and then I flip it over and run some glue across there. And then I run my glue like so. And then I fold the box up and I just hold it like that for a few seconds. And then I get my elastic band and I just wrap it around and just check all my corners again, and that's it. So I've got my box and I've got my label on it, and then I've got the base, and that was the last one, so I am done. Now the other thing I will mention, so what I did notice was that with the Kaisercraft treasures, on the back they've got these little templates that fit perfectly. So there's 12, even though there's only 6 in each packet, but I guess you can have the same pattern, or you've got a choice of which pattern you want. So I just mixed it up a little bit, but I have just popped it in there. So there we have it. So that can go in there now, so give that a few minutes to dry. So the next thing I've got to do is pull this all apart. Now that I've got that all done like that, I'm going to pull it all apart, and then I'm going to get my glue, and I'm going to just glue the tab and glue inside. So I can probably maybe take the top off. So I'm just going to put the glue in there, and then I'm just going to go around and glue everything together, and then I'll be back and I'll show you the final result. Okay, so there she is. I've cleared a space for my new set of drawers, and this is her new home. I don't know why I'm calling it a her, but seems to be a her. So I just thought I'd just show you how I'm going to use it. I mean, I don't know yet what I'll put in all the drawers, but for example, this one here, if I pull that out, this is some real life ephemera that I haven't had a chance to put in my own junk journal as yet. So I thought that might be a good way of using that one there. This drawer here is just some bits of washi tape that has outgrown my current way of storing my washies, and again this one here is some washies on a roll. I've got a lot more washi than that, but it's overflowed and they're ones I've been using lately in my junk journal for my own personal stuff. So I thought maybe this top level here would be a good way of keeping stuff for my planner supplies. Next to it I've got some books that I like to use when I do my own journaling, and in here is just some personal vintage ephemera that I've been collecting along the way that I use sometimes. And I just wanted to recap as well. This is the paper pad that I used. So it was the Kaisercraft Timeless Classics, and I'm pretty happy because this is what I've got left over. So some very good usable scraps that I'll set aside and I'll put into another project. And I've used up, I've still got plenty of sheets left in here, but most of what I've got left in here now is very, very usable stuff for my regular junk journaling that I do. So good use of supplies, and I think you have to agree that that does look pretty cool now. I'm looking forward to coming into my office tomorrow and being greeted with that. Fun project, something you can complete in a weekend. And I did actually also glaze the top, and I'll pull that out at a later stage and give it another coat. And when it is fully dry, I think it will just fit. I'll just be able to fit that up there, which is my flower press. So yeah, so I hope I've inspired you and given you some good ideas on how to put together one of these storage boxes. If you ever do come across one, have fun creating, enjoy it. It is a bit of work, but I think you'll agree it's well worth it. Please give me a thumbs up if you've enjoyed this video and share it with your friends. Thanks so much for watching, and have a beautiful day. Bye.